Here's one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin The Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slangin The Bizkit podcast. We are broadcasting to you live from the entertainment and media capital of the world from our beautiful, luxurious studios here outside the Winnipeg airport. The man across from me has been your mother's favorite morning FM radio DJ for over 20 years. I played 4 years of professional hockey, a little bit in Europe, a little bit in Sweden, a little bit in Norway, the southern U.S. Welcome back to the show. Happy to have you here in beautiful, snowy Las Vegas, Manitoba.
Las Vegas. And you're not done playing yet either. You're just over a month away from playing a few cash tournaments, am I right?
Yep, got a native cash prize tournament coming up for the start of April, which I'm looking forward to. Nice little cash prize for that one, and even bigger cash prize for May, start of May. Both start of each month.
And one's in Portage La Prairie, the Plap.
One's in Portage La Prairie. One is at the Iceplex.
The Hockey for All Center.
Practice facility for the Jets.
On the west perimeter, just right beside the Assiniboia Downs, by the way. But in my opinion, the best horse racing in Canada at the American League level.
They got some good stuff. Got some good stuff over there. Also the Flying J, the iconic Flying J gas
Flying
station.
J, yeah. Darren Dunn over there at Assiniboia Downs. He runs a tight ship, man. If you want some good horse racing, man, we got it here in Winnipeg, I'll tell you that.
Speaking of running a tight ship, we got some bad news to start the show off. When this came across my desk, I knew this was going to be the headliner for this week. The Church of Silicon, Hooters, filing for bankruptcy.
Man, nobody was sadder to hear the news than me. Now they've shut down, but now I've got a long history at Hooters. I've been doing bar gigs there for a long time. I've made a lot of great business deals and contacts there in business and otherwise. And it was a magical place through adolescence where it wasn't a strip club. You weren't taking your kid to a strip club, honey. I'm taking them to a family restaurant where they have dynamite wings. And that is true. They have dynamite wings there. I will put their wings up against anybody's any day. Fantastic wings and average service, cold beer, great aesthetic, TVs everywhere. Honestly, man.
High-flying wings, low-mileage women. Doesn't get any better than that.
I think that it's a combination of the internet and Skip the Dishes and all these delivery services that have kind of put the at least one nail in a very big coffin for a lot of chain restaurants. And I think they're going to have to change someone's going to have to change because people just love the comfort of home more and more.
What do you think they do? Like a new chicken sandwich, like a new promotion?
No, it has
new outfits?
It has nothing to do, in my opinion, with the food. I mean, the food is the food. The aesthetic is the aesthetic. The girls are the girls. I think they got to get back and really play on the retro emotions of people. Let's go back to a time where we weren't staring at our phones. We got everything you need right here. Everything. We got all the TVs on. We got goofy shit all over the walls. We've got girls in tight spandex outfits. Mm-hmm. It's go make it retro. You know, like with this whole make everything great again mantra. Let's go back to simplicity. Chicken wings, beer, girls. Easy.
Little Mahaga. Make Hooters great again. Mahaga.
Haga, Hooters, awesome, great again? I don't know. No, honestly, listen, if we're going to talk about some passings, we got to mention Gene Hackman, too, who passed away this week. Man, that I knew you were going to say that, you and your generation. This guy was a 2-time Oscar winner, 2-time BAFTA winner, 5-time Golden Globe winner.
What was he in?
He, The Unforgiven, Quick and the Dead. He was the original Lex Luthor in the Christopher Reeve Superman. He was in Mississippi Burning. He was in Enemy of the State. He was in Hoosiers. He was in The Replacements. Did you ever watch The Replacements? Keanu Reeves, backup quarterback during a strike? No. Outside of that, man, he was an absolute powerhouse. He was a force. Great actor. And we lost him too soon.
Also, rest in peace to Mike Lang, legendary Penguins broadcaster, who passed away this week. Well, I guess last week. Scratch my back with a hacksaw Sydney. Make me a milkshake Malkin. Iconic calls.
Man, he had some great ones. He hit his pinnacle when Sid was there, that's for sure.
Do you think there's a broadcaster right now that just has like an incredible voice in hockey that you just love looking forward to watching? What was his name? Not Doc Emmerich. Dave Strader had a great voice. I love watching him, and he passed away.
Yeah. Man. I mean, Chris Cuthbert's probably the most recognizable voice. We just got him for the Four Nations Cup or the Four Nations Face-Off. So, I mean, I think he's the go-to guy as far as hockey goes. But I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of good up-and-comers in the American League. There's a lot of good up-and-comers in junior hockey, and everyone's just kind of waiting for their shot.
Who's the guy who does the AM broadcast for the Jets? Is it Paul Edmonds?
Paul Edmonds, yeah. So he was the old play-by-play guy for the Winnipeg Goldeyes for the AA baseball team here. And he ended up, moving into that position. He's great.
He does a great job.
Dan Robertson does the TV for TSN.
It's a shame that they don't have Paul in the like when you watch the YouTube highlights, it's the other guys. They don't have Paul. He has such a great, deep, raspy, almost like spinning nails voice. He does a great job.
Well, it's a different. You're painting a different picture when you're doing play-by-play on radio than you are on television. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit. So
when you're watching the highlights on YouTube, you're watching the recap of all these games. You'll get, depending on what the NHL wants to throw up, or Sportsnet or TSN or whatever provider, it's a coin flip as far as, when I'm watching Jets highlights, especially. Sometimes I'll get Dan. Sometimes I'll get whoever the home broadcaster is if they're on the road, or whoever Sportsnet provides. But they don't. Very rarely do they put the radio call in there, because you're watching what the TV is seeing rather than what the radio is seeing.
Do you remember prime Tyler Seguin?
Is he not still prime Tyler Seguin?
I think he's injured. I think he's had a couple hip surgeries. He's out LTIR, I believe. Could be wrong. But back in his prime, I remember this when he was single. And I mean, Tyler Seguin, he was a good-looking dude. He absolutely killed it. I mean, the Dallas Stars had to hire specific security to monitor outside of his hotel room so that after 10 p.m., there was no ladies going out there banging on the door. Mr. Seguin, we want a couple minutes of your time.
Was that to keep people out or to keep him in?
That's a good question. That's why we got a voicemail. We got to call the voicemail to let us know what you think. But
we'll get to those later, by the way.
Absolutely, we will. But I remember on Instagram, whenever the Dallas Stars would be traveling, this is like one of my favorite things for the last decade. When the Dallas Stars would be in Chicago, we put up on the Instagram story a little photo out the window at the hotel. Chicago, Detroit, Dallas, Toronto. Just letting all the ladies that were following him know, here's the bat signal. I'm here. Slide into the DMs. Iconic.
There's a couple ways to go about it. In the grand scheme of things, if you're doing it smart, nobody really cares. If you're doing it dumb, people start caring. You know what I mean?
But see, if you question that, like, oh, well, what are you doing, Tyler? Oh, I'm just letting everybody know. I'm in beautiful Chicago. I know you can't see anything. It's dark outside. And same thing with Toronto. We just got into Winnipeg. It's 5 p.m. It's pitch black, but I'm here and I'm excited to be traveling. Well, he was just letting the ladies to follow him know, I'm here. Daddy's in town.
Sure. And when you have a reputation, unfortunately, the exact same picture taken on the social media from two different guys could mean two different things.
It's a shame that his career's gone a little bit downhill with production the last couple of years. But
that happens with age, man.
Well, of course.
OV excluded, obviously.
Oof. Do you think he's going to break the record?
Yes.
This season?
Yes.
What game?
I think he's going to get to 900, to be honest with you.
This season?
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. I mean,
that's a goal per game.
Yeah.
Every game.
No, not necessarily. He's got 20-some-odd games left, and he's only 12 behind the tie. So I think he's definitely going to beat it. Man, listen, he's the merchant of open nets right now.
What do you think of the Kings in L.A. against the L.A. Kings? I think that's coming up in about 3 weeks' time.
That'd be pretty cool.
With a great one in attendance against the great one's former team.
By the way, we're going to get to him a little bit later too, right? He's feeling some heat. We'll save that for later, though.
A little bit of a smear campaign going on with him. But you want to do a little bit of the media, or do you want to do the Four Nations hangover?
I'm down. Let's go.
Four Nations hangover. Do you feel like we're going through a little bit of a hangover after having such a great hockey at the Four Nations tournament?
I think Connor McDavid summed that up pretty well when they asked him, and he even said, it feels like it's hard to get back into just regular club hockey and regular season stuff after the excitement of that.
It's a little bit slower, yeah.
Well, I don't even know if the gameplay's slower, but it just doesn't have as much pizzazz around it, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like everyone was looking forward to that Canada-USA rematch. Was anyone looking forward to yesterday's game between the Jets and Philly?
Probably not.
Probably not as much,
But why do people care? Because they had 3 fights in 9 seconds. Hockey's back. Physicality. We don't like you. We don't like your tariffs. We're going to tariff you. It brought back hockey's rivalry.
It was a perfect storm. It was an absolute perfect storm with all the things that were going on, and I made commentary on that on my my weekly sports opinion that's voiced by my wife. You can catch that on YouTube if you want. But
on your morning radio show too?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a perfect storm. Like, it was perfect. Like, the NHL was patting them on themselves on the back for perfect timing. You know what I mean? Like, had all these things not been happening, would it have been as exciting?
If they did in September? Knows? Probably not.
Who knows? I have no idea, but it worked out great. And even Gary Bettman was on the Rich Eisen show talking about how they're not sure how they're going to move forward. Like, they got the Olympics coming up, and then they're going to do the World Cup again. But can they find that perfect storm again? Who knows?
I don't know if you do that in the summertime, but I had an idea the other day. What if you started doing more branded tournaments? So let's say like you had an original 6 tournament. Chicago, Boston, New York, Montreal, Toronto, Detroit. They play a tournament. You have the 70s expansion. So you have Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, LA, St. Louis. You have the 70s expansion, Jets, Oilers, Canucks, Flames. And maybe you even have like a southern tournament. So you get the Sun Belt of Tampa, Florida, Vegas.
Well, in a weird way, I think you're kind of already doing that inside of your division, because if you win your division, you get a banner that gets put up, and that's something. Truthfully,
but you like those NBA tournaments they're doing, mid-season tournaments, right? Champions League style?
It's not that they're figuring it out. They're figuring it out, and it'll take a long time to really have it hold any weight the way it does over in Europe with footy, and even in hockey they do it with their tournaments over there in leagues. But what I would honestly, if they were smart, and this is fresh in my mind because I was doing research on it recently, because I want to talk expansion at some point too, but the Avco Cup. The Avco Cup was the championship trophy for the World Hockey Association.
WHA, baby. Which
ended up getting absorbed by the NHL. And that's how you got your Hartford Whalers, your Philadelphia Flyers, your Winnipeg Jets. Houston Aeros were once upon a time part of the WHA, who were Avco Cup winners twice in 73 and 75, if memory serves correct. Winnipeg Jets were the last ones to win it, so the Avco Cup still lives here in Winnipeg. No, just got to keep it? All right. We'll be guardians of it. I would love to see that brought back in to the league as your in-season tournament play or whatever it may be. I don't know how it works. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of bringing in other leagues. Like I know we talked about it last week, you mentioned about the KHL and bringing some of the top European and Austrian leagues and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool trophy. To
be fair, the Jets holding the trophy for the last 40 years is kind of like me going in with 5 minutes left in the third, making 2 saves and pitching a shutout. Didn't really get the shutout.
What are you talking about? The Jets won the Avco Cup and the World Hockey Association.
They won the last one, but they haven't held it for 40 years.
But has anyone else won it since then?
No, the league
then it's
exist.
Still ours.
I don't know. Let us know in the comment section. I disagree, but what do you think about this? If instead of the 4 nations, you had the NHL Team Canada, NHL Team USA, NHL Team Sweden, maybe you did like a Team Europe to kind of bundle in the Swiss and the Finns and so that they have a strong chance, and then a Team Russia, and then a Team KHL, the best KHL players and a Team Russia.
I think you're diluting it a little bit too much. And to be honest with you, if we're going to get into the expansion talk sooner than later, that's one of the big issues with expansion is that you're just diluting your product a little bit more,
Do you think that they've diluted hockey with the Vegas and the Seattle expansions?
I think that there is more emphasis on your first and second line than the 4 nations face-off was a great example. Canada rolled 4 lines. USA kept it tight to 2 lines. Canada won. Canada was able to run 4 lines. It's one of the reasons why the Winnipeg Jets are so good right now. They're rolling 4 lines, and that 4th line is dynamite.
And whatever's in the water, 300 man in the watering hole.
I'm telling you, there's something in the water here in Winnipeg, and it's treating the boys good. If you can roll 4 lines, you got no issues. If you're looking at your bench and your first and second line are huffing and puffing, and your a-hole starts puckering a little bit, going, geez, do I got to put these guys in? Then you got problems in your roster. So, yeah, I think it dilutes. For the most part, and this is truth because I watched the American League for the better part of a decade very intensely, most of your 4th lines in the NHL are very interchangeable with your first or second line in the American League. One of the big differences, and I've mentioned this before, one of the big differences between the NHL and the American League is passing. 100%. The passing is just on point.
They don't miss.
They don't miss when it comes to passing the NHL and the American League. If you're going to make that jump, you got to make sure you can make a pass and receive a pass because it's going to be on your stick now. You're not reaching for it. You're not looking around. It's going to be on your stick. So the more teams you have, and it looks like the NHL wants to go to 34 within the next couple of years.
Who do you think they add? What 2 teams? What teams? 2 cities?
Have you not heard the rumors?
Tell me more.
Okay. Currently, as it stands right now, this is according to Kevin Weeks.
Weeksy, the People's Insider.
According to Kevin Weeks, your top 2 contenders for expansion teams are Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, boy.
And Houston, Texas.
I like Houston.
I don't mind Houston. Again, going back to the whole Houston Aeros thing, they've got a long history with hockey. The Aeros were a great American League franchise. The reason why the Honda Center was built, am I getting that right? The Honda Center? I'm pretty sure it's the Toyota Center? Toyota Center.
Which one?
The one in Houston.
Okay.
The one where the Houston Rockets play.
Honda's for the Ducks, but yes.
Thank you. So it is the Toyota Center.
Yep.
It was built in conjunction, and it was actually spearheaded by the owner of the American League Houston Aeros at the time, and they were both going to live in that building. So they've already got an NHL building ready to go.
When did the Arrows leave?
2013, if memory serves correct.
It's been that long?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like that long.
I know. It's been a while.
You can get the Austin crowd, too. Austin, Texas, people coming up from there. Good little Houston-Dallas rivalry.
Well, look, Dallas has proved they went through a few bumps. Andy Moog in the days of when they first got down there, but they're Stanley Cup champions. You know, Darian Hatcher holding up that cup. Brett Hull, the infamous goal against the Buffalo Sabres.
Eddie the Eagle.
Dallas has proved that that hockey makes sense in Texas. It absolutely does. Putting a team in Houston. They've even got Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne's had Fort.
Saskatchewan.
No. Fort Myers. Fort Myers had
Florida?
a team. Like no, what's it? There's a lot of
Fort
forts.
Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas. Thank you. There's a lot of American League and IHL and then Southern professional teams that are floating around down there. They've proved that they like hockey. I wouldn't mind seeing it in Houston. It bugs me that Quebec is still being ignored.
To all the people in Quebec City, thoughts and prayers for you. We're very sorry you haven't got your team yet.
Je me souviens.
Which means a team.
Here's my hang up. And this will be coming out as my sports opinion this week. I just to spoil it a little bit. I think one of the big hang-ups with Gary Bettman in the NHL is the language barrier. Because Montreal... it's true. No, hear me out. Montreal is very English-friendly. Like, anyone can go to Montreal and you'll have no problems. You can walk in any store. The entire city is bilingual. Ville-Québec, c'est seulement français, tout le temps. It's French all the time. There is very little English speaking. Mm-hmm. The Winnipeg Jets have a hard enough time signing guys. If you have guys coming in from overseas or even guys from the U.S. where they have to move to a city where it's only French, that's going to be really tough. It's going to be really hard. Now, keep in mind, their Videotron,
Center
is 18,000 capacity, way more than Canada Life Center in downtown Winnipeg, which is just over 15. Their Metro is just a little bit bigger than Winnipeg. It's about, I'd say almost comparable to Winnipeg, about 850 to 9, somewhere in there. So again, you're dealing with a big rink, smaller population, no English. It's just a tough sell. I want them to get a team more than anyone.
But you got good European living, so maybe the Europeans want to come over because it's like you're being in Europe, right?
Yeah, sure, except you got to speak French. Like it's a prerequisite. In Montreal, you have to speak French if you're going to be la capitaine, or if you're going to be la chef. If you're going to be the coach, you got to speak French. In Ville-Québec, it's going to be even more so.
I wonder if you had a predominantly English-based team in Quebec City that would kind of help change the culture to more English-French-based.
Why would you want to change the culture in a city?
I'm just pitching ideas, man. Don't shoot the messenger, boy. I'm just giving you ideas here.
Honestly, I think that's the big hang-up for why Quebec City is getting ignored.
Well, look at how the Winnipeg Jets have totally reshaped downtown Winnipeg and just revitalized, although there's quite a few warts still.
They're working on it.
They've done a good job, right? Maybe the Quebec Nordiques, too, could do the same thing. I don't know. You wouldn't go to Quebec City? You go to Houston first?
Look, I think it's been proven that most guys, if they had their choice of playing, they'd rather play in a southern market.
Mm-hmm. Come out of the rink after morning skate and flip-flops. It's
Bingo.
not bad.
True, man. It's good living.
What about Atlanta, though?
Atlanta's hot. Hot Atlanta.
Real hot. Good barbecue.
Well, here's what drives me nuts about Atlanta. They keep trying to shoehorn it in. They failed twice now. The first Atlanta Flames now live in Calgary. Mm-hmm. The second Atlanta Thrashers now live in Winnipeg. They've proven twice. I know.
Maybe we need a third team. They can move to Quebec City in 10 years.
As it stands right now, Houston is the 5th largest metropolis in the U.S. Atlanta is 6th. Okay?
Okay.
So it makes sense. They're looking for big markets. Phoenix has already been promised a team. They've been promised they're going to get one back once they build their new compound, once they get their ownership figured out. They've already been promised a team. So now you're promising 2 to probably Atlanta and Houston, and now you're getting another one. Now we're up to 35 teams. Mm-hmm. Now I only need 36 to kind of balance out all the divisions. Then you're probably going to have to couple more. Like how many is too many? Now we're really diluting it. And I know we got a lot of hockey players coming up. I get it, but
might give me a place to play.
How much are you actually diluting the talent pool?
Let us know in the comment section. Call the voicemail, whatever you think. Let's take a quick commercial break to talk about today's presenting sponsor, the team at MANDO. Right here, America's favorite full-body deodorant, 72 hours of odor protection. It stops stinking right at the source. You use it on your pits, packages, and feet. It is dermatologist approved. And MANDO right now has a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it. If you don't like it, they'll give you your money back, no questions asked. Block odor all day long. It's paraben and baking soda free. And as I mentioned, they are America's #1 full-body deodorant. And right now, if you're still on the fence, you can pick up a starter kit with $5 off. It's essentially 40% off when you go to shopmando.com and you use our code BIZKIT, that is BIZKIT, for $5 off your Mando starting pack today. Thanks to Mando for being the presenting sponsor for this week's
What have you got to lose? Instead of going down some random aisle in the grocery store and just grabbing something like, oh, this looks okay. Literally, this stuff is designed. They're trying something new. They're trying to figure out. They're trying to change the game. Give it a shot. Even if it doesn't work out for you, you saved a whole bunch of money on it, and you would have spent probably less than you would at the grocery store. Try it. Just try it.
And selfishly, we only work with companies that align with our values. So if the things that we're saying resonate with you, all the sponsors do as well. So support a great company that's making a great product that believes in the same things that we believe in and our ideals and our values over here at Slangin The Bizkit.
Speaking of stinky, I heard a couple. I heard a couple of rumors about some stinky things that were going down in the lower realms of pro hockey.
One of my former employers.
I didn't want to say particularly that was in the league that you used to play in, but I heard some pretty gnarly rumors. I'm going to throw it out there. If you haven't heard it, then we can move on. But if you have heard it, then maybe you can add some context to it. I heard a rumor, just a rumor.
From who?
I'm not going to give away my sources.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
I heard a rumor that a player may or may not have gotten jacked, got the entire contents of his vehicle taken, including all of his gear. And when he got back to the rink and said, yo, I got robbed, I got no insurance, I need gear, and they said, figure it out.
Yep.
There was no help whatsoever from the team. Like you've heard this story?
Yep. So first off, the guy that you're talking about, the owner, and I played for this guy, is probably
so you actually know the story?
Okay. Yeah, I played for this dude. This guy is one of the biggest scumbags in professional sports. When you have one of your players who is a heart and soul guy, would give anything for his team, puts his body out on the line, he's a fighter, he fights for his team and for the logo on the front, not the name on the back, and the fans that come to the rink every Friday, Saturday, and sometimes on Wednesdays as well to support your team and put money in your pocket, the owner. This guy goes up on a call-up, comes back down, on his way back down. It's a long drive. He's up in the SPHL, stops overnight at a hotel. He's got his missus with him. They travel together. As he's arriving at the hotel, boom, held up at gunpoint. They rob him. They take all of his gear. And then he comes back to the team and says, like you mentioned, I got robbed. All my gear's gone. What do I do? And the owner says, you know what?
I didn't hear that was at gunpoint.
It was a gunpoint.
That's
they
crazy.
held him at gunpoint.
I heard he just got broken into.
Give me all your stuff. And he goes back to the owner and says, can you help me out here? Like, I'm the heart and soul guy. I've been here. I've devoted myself to this team and to you. Can you help me? They say, nope, no money for you.
Wow.
Stuff like that. And there's another one, because this guy owns multiple teams. Again, absolute scumbag. Again, one of the former teams that I played on, this one guy in the preseason this year goes up to block a shot, takes a puck right to the face, breaks his jaw, missing teeth. Like, he's really mangled.
Someone's got to teach him how to block shots, by the way.
He's blocking him with the wrong part of his body, but
Yeah.
he's putting his body out on the line for his team. He has to go get surgery. It's about an $8,000 surgery. Now, us as players, we have insurance. So, for example, when I was in Watertown, I had insurance. I got to get my ankle checked up on when I thought I was having ankle issues, which is great. Team says, yep, go get the surgery. Insurance will cover it. Spends $8,000. Well, gets the surgery done for $8,000. Comes back. Hey, guys, would you mind reimbursing me? No, we're not reimbursing. It's too much. You said you were going to. No, we're not going to reimburse you. Continues to follow up. Can you please give me the $8,000 for the surgery that I got playing for your team? Yeah, we'll give it to you. By the way, you're released.
No.
What a bunch of dirtbags over there.
Wow.
Welcome to the traveling circus.
Show business, not show friends, right? But man, oh man, you at least got to try and make good on that.
If you wonder why, and you know how I operate. I'm very loyal to those that are good to me. You're my boy. I would do almost anything for you, within reason, with the exception of like bear traps and clowns, and maybe like women over 60. Those are my three parameters. But when you treat players like this is why you get zero loyalty from these guys. Is this not fair to say?
Yeah, I get. And again, trying to add a little bit of context, maybe some of these owners have been burned before by guys who are trying to take advantage of them. Maybe, I don't know, but
then you have other teams, like let's say that, and shout out to the Columbus River Dragons. I know they have an insane budget, but they take care of the guys. And the guys are taken care of, so they give more to the owner. It's why they have the best run organization in the entire FPHL. Binghamton, although we say what we've said about some of the previous players on their team, they have a huge budget. They take care of their players. Look, they are the reigning champions. They get a great result off the investments they make.
It's an interesting balance because, you know, if you roll out the red carpet, sometimes people will wipe their feet on it, you know, and so it's a very fine line to.
But it's part of the culture you bring in. If you start a culture where the guys, like think about this, for example, if you come into my home and it's spotless, are you going to put your cup in the sink or are you going to just dump it wherever you want, right? You're probably going to put it in the sink. if my house is a pigsty and I ask you to put your dishes away, you're probably going to fight me on it, probably leave in the kitchen or leave in the living room. That's pretty fair to say, right? You adapt to the climate that you're around. And if you have good culture, you'll breed more good culture. If you have a bunch of bad apples and a dirtbag running the show at the top, right? Because the bottom level employees reflect the mindset of the leader at the top and the captain of the ship, this dirtbag who owns this team and plenty of other teams.
The idea is that you don't want to do it, I'll find someone else that will.
But that's the business mentality.
Right.
You're an asset until you're no longer useful. And then when you're no longer useful, what do you want? You want to buy some advertising? We don't know who you are anymore.
Right.
So that's the traveling circus of professional hockey. But we got some stuff to talk about with the NHL. I know you wanted to talk about them. The Tkachuk brothers making all sorts of news.
Well, look, I mean, I found it rather interesting that here we are doing a very humble podcast, and we've been at this almost 3 years now, and we're doing our best. And we've actually got a fantastic summer series coming up because once the hockey season ends, there's not a lot of content out there. We want to make sure that we're on 12 months out of the year and every Sunday to make sure your schedule stays the same. So we've actually been working our butts off and doing a lot of great interviews that we're going to be running in the summer in our summer interview series. And we've already got content from Bill Ranford, legendary Hall of Fame goaltender. We got Brent Sopel, former Stanley Cup champion and Vancouver Canuck, who my boy Mike DeGami is really excited to see. Rich Cooper, famous author. We've got some really interesting people that's going to be launching this summer. And we've reached out to a bunch of current players to try and get them on as well. And the answer has always been the same. Hey, sorry, I'm under contract. We've reached out to teams. Sorry, these guys are under contract. We don't allow them to do podcasts.
Well, we've had multiple guys, NHL goalies, who have said, yeah, I'd love to do the show. I love your show. I love watching your show. I believe what you guys believe in. Our values in line. Let's do it. Oh, sorry, the media department at the team said, no, they're real tight on this stuff, and it can only be with TSN or Sportsnet or the other fake news. Right,
and so I found it very interesting that the Tkachuk brothers, who seem to be the ambassadors for USA Hockey now, between Matthew and Brady, they did the entire run. They did Fallon, Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show. They did the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers, Jason and Travis. They actually saw Brady on Spittin Chiclets, which I thought was a huge pull for them. I mean, good for you guys. Why aren't we reaching out? Why aren't we trying to get these guys on? But I think it's part of maybe it's the NHL, maybe it's the top dog going like, hey, market these guys because they're two Americans who speak very well about the game. Get them on anywhere you can because let's build on the momentum that we had from the Four Nations face-off. That makes sense to me.
Well, think about a business relationship. Whoever needs whoever less has negotiating power. So if Brady Tkachuk, who is the star for the Ottawa Senators, says, I want to go on Fallon, I want to go on New Heights, I want to go on Chiclets, he can do so. If the guy who just called up from the American League on the fourth line wants to do so, sorry, dude. And what are you going to do? You're going to bite the hand that feeds you? You're trying to make the NHL.
Right.
Not a chance, which makes sense, though.
No, I honestly think the NHL is parading them around.
To be fair, though, and I mean, just speaking from our experience of getting NHL guys on who have openly said, we love the show, we align with your values, we want to come on, we want to talk with you guys because you seem very genuine, we love the interviews and the stuff that you do. Spittin Chiclets has ruined it for everybody with the crazy road stories and the, I'm not even going to say because I don't want to get us demonetized, but just the wild road trip stories and the wild things that they talk about. And now all the media departments are like, now we got to really rein it in. The pendulum has swung all the way over here and now all the way back there. And I mean, I know from talking to a couple, and listen, I give the fake news media, the TSN, the Sportsnet a very hard time. When I was in Montreal during the Four Nations tournament, I wasn't at the tournament, but I was in Montreal at the time. I had a couple guys from Sportsnet come up and say, we completely agree with everything you guys say. We're not allowed to agree with it. But for example, with Chiclets, when RA gets the opportunity of a lifetime, how many guys would kill to be on the ice with the Florida Panthers celebrating after they won the cup?
And he blew it for all of us.
And he gets blackout drunk. He's high on mushrooms and all this. He's an absolute degenerate. I'm glad that you guys, us, finally said something because obviously the mainstream fake news media isn't allowed to say anything about that. So they have really handcuffed a lot of the media world.
Yeah, and that's kind of and just to pull the curtain back, that's the reason why, and even missing curfew, and they maybe have a little more pull. Barstool Sports has a lot of pull. Like I mean, they're kind of the big dog when it comes to sports podcast. But
to be fair, I think a lot of people, they're tired of the mainstream, the Barstool, like the network-based shows where, listen, it comes from the head down. This is how we think, and it reflects all the way down. So there's certain things you can't talk about. You and I, it's a two-man wrecking crew. This is it. This is the team. And if we want to talk about your first NHL purchase, you want to talk about what you see in the game today, you want to talk about how you see the world and your political views, we can talk about anything. There's nobody telling us what we can or can't say.
But straight across the board, the NHL and all the teams have basically told us, we tell players, don't do these other podcasts because the team or the league, we can't get reprimanded.
Yeah, they don't have the ability to punish us and say, you shouldn't have been posting this.
So if it goes off the rails, then they can't do anything about it. But when it comes to the traditional media, they can. They can absolutely reprimand them because they're partnered with the NHL, and they can say, take these guys to task. They can't do that with us, and that's why we're a threat.
Well, and that's why hockey is so boring. It's 20 miles, 20 smiles, hem them in deep. We're a great team. They have a lot of talent over there. Does anybody want to watch that? Does anybody seriously want to listen to that? This is why hockey is dying. You had the greatest 2 weeks ever with the Four Nations tournament, and hockey is still barely ahead of bowling. Not even behind. They're behind bowling. They are behind bowling.
Well, for the first time in a while, they beat bowling with those numbers that they put for the gold medal game. I mean, that was huge. And again, that was a perfect storm. But
here's the stat for you. During the Four Nations tournament, you want to know what the 3 most watched sports were in what order? The NBA, soccer, Four Nations.
Soccer's doing that well in the U.S.?
More people are watching soccer
wow.
and the association than the Four Nations tournament. So they can pat themselves in the back all they want.
And the NBA is boring right now. Like, man, is it bad. It's bad basketball.
I don't think hockey's in a good place. And these people that are celebrating, the cap's going up $10 million this upcoming season, and then I think $8 million the next, and then $10 million the next. Do you realize what inflation we have had the last 4 years? It has gone up 10% every year the past 4 years. And now, the cap's going up 8%. This is great. This is not good. This is not good at all.
I'll give you a perfect indication, and I'll bring it right back here to Winnipeg. There was a highway project to finish off big highway project here in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. And 6 years ago, they did a feasibility study. It was going to cost about $450 million. And now in 2025, they had the same feasibility study done. It's gone up to $900 million. It's like almost doubled in 6 years. That's crazy.
Everything's inflated.
It's crazy.
And for those of you soy latte loving liberals out there that are like, well, Trav, the fact that the salary is going up $10 million is great. They printed an insane amount of money. You have more money chasing the same amount of goods. Therefore, your purchasing power goes down, which is why when you voted for the Liberals the last couple of elections, this is why you can't afford to buy chicken, because you have voted for this money printing. And this is why the NHL salary cap going up $8 million, maybe $10 million for the first time in God knows how long, which is less than 10%. The rate of inflation is not good. The NHL is not doing as good as they say. We made record revenue. Everything inflated. Of course she made record revenue.
Again, according to Kevin Weeks, they're expecting to make between $5 and $7 billion this year.
Let us know in the comment section what you think. Am I spot on? Am I wrong? What do you think of the state of hockey?
Call the voicemail.
We have a voicemail line, of course. You can call anytime, any place, about anything you want. And there's no phone number attached. You just click the link in the video description, call, and we will feature your calls at the end of the show.
Would love to hear Wayne Gretzky call in, too, because my goodness, there's a guy that's going through the ringer right now.
Yeah, the news is doing... I don't get how you have the great one, Wayne Gretzky, the greatest hockey player to ever play the game, who was Canada's son. He's Mr. Everything. He's won everything. He has... How many records does he have? Hundreds of NHL records?
I'm going to take a stab at it. I think he has 61 current records. And if OV beats it this year, he'll be down to 60. But still, he has a record for holding the most records.
Mm-hmm. And then they've treated him like a son of Canada, because he is from Canada, obviously. And the second some picture comes out of him, and I get why he was so careful about it, a picture comes out of Wayne Gretzky at Trump's inauguration party. And now that Trump has said, Wayne should run to be Prime Minister of Canada, or I guess Governor of Canada is what he's calling it now. The whole mainstream news is doing a massive smear campaign on Wayne Gretzky. Like, what is going on in this world?
Yeah, I've seen social media pictures of going through...
calling him a traitor?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I don't understand. Let's break this down a little bit more. Let's do a little 2020 vision on this one.
Okay.
The guy has lived in the United States longer than he ever lived in Canada. Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
Yep.
His wife's American. His kids are American. His daughter married an American. Mm-hmm. He votes American. Pays taxes in America.
Is he a dual citizen?
Absolutely he is. Mm-hmm. Is he Canadian? Yeah. Never take that away from him. When asked to lead the Canadian charge, will he be there? 100%. Without a doubt. He will show up, as he did at the Four Nations Cup. At the Four Nations face-off. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He will be there.
Well, they're flaming him for that, too. They said, you're a traitor. You can't be the honorary captain of Canada when you've been doing what you've been doing.
He's been sitting on the board of governors with the Edmonton Oilers for how long?
Well, what has he done to be a traitor, though? That? I don't think he's a traitor for doing that. Calling water wet?
He hasn't done anything to be labeled a traitor. He has been First and foremost, he's a Canadian. Second of all, he's an ambassador of the game. Nobody can take that. The reason why we're looking at teams like Houston and Atlanta are because of the impact that Wayne Gretzky had back in the late 80s going down to L.A. So what's he going to do? He's going to continue to show his face in the United States, shake hands with anyone he can, saying, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm Wayne Gretzky. I'm the greatest hockey player of all time from Canada, and I'm here to build the game. And to call him a traitor for that? No.
You wonder why nobody trusts the mainstream news anymore.
Ridiculous.
They're not even trying to hide it. Can we get into that for a sec?
That's clickbait.
They're not even hiding it anymore.
It's clickbait.
At least maybe 4 years ago, they did an okay job of hiding it and masking it. They're just totally putting it out there. And if you don't see it, use your eyes for the first time in your life.
Look, you will never, ever in your lifetime open up a publication of traditional media where it says, everything's great. Everything's wonderful. There's nothing to worry about. Have a great day. You will never see that. What you're going to see is divisiveness, murder, crime, politics, bad, because that's going to, you see everything's great? Cool. You keep walking. You see something, oh, is it something I need to worry about? I should read about this. I'm going to worry about it. You're always going to see that when it comes to legacy media. Of course, They're always going to try and play on your emotions.
Look at the Matt Murray interview we did last summer and the spin jobs that the mainstream news and the mainstream media, the sports media did with that article to try to spin some hit piece on him. When if you actually watch the interview, we just talked about hockey equipment. We talked about our love for Canada, his love for Thunder Bay, and rehabbing from hip surgery. How they do these spin jobs and can honestly look themselves in the mirror, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't understand it.
There's actually a job called, do you remember the Little Miss Can't Be Wrong? Spin Doctors.
Oh,
never heard that?
I remember the Spin Doctors.
Spin Doctors.
Yep.
They actually took that name from a job that was created in a lot of different industries. How do we spin this? Oh, we got bad news. How do we spin this? Ooh, there's good news there. How do we spin that? How do we spin it? How do we play on people's emotions? How do we get them that they're going to engage with us, that we can make sure we get eyeballs and ears on this and make money on it? It's always come down to the almighty dollar. Good news doesn't sell, man.
Does this stuff bother you?
Does it bother me?
Yeah.
As somebody who has spent my career in legacy media, there are times where I'm rather embarrassed of my colleagues. I've always tried to be as true as possible, and I've been reprimanded very famously for it.
Canada's most famous firing on radio.
On numerous occasions.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's got to be a happy medium, especially in this landscape now. And actually, I saw a really, really good interview recently, and I won't say who it was interviewed by, because it as soon as I say the names, you're going to go, oh, well, we know what this is about. But they brought up the point where politics even has to change right now, because these long-form podcasts are allowing people to have deep conversations. So if you bring somebody and they say, I want to do an interview with you. I want the questions ahead of time. Well, why is that? So I can be prepared for what you're going to ask. Well, how about we just sit down and have a conversation? What it's actually doing, it's removing the threat of propaganda, where you only had one option. Here's what we tell you. This is the truth no matter what. Now you have a whole bunch of different places to go. And I'm talking about sports media as well, not just general media. But these long-form podcasts, kind of what we do, allows you to kind of take a lot of information and take little notes from here, little notes from there, and allow you to form your own opinion. And that's dangerous. In the eyes of the people who try and puppeteer everything, that's extremely dangerous. So they've got to pivot, and they've got to try to figure out how to drop these little potpourri things into this giant hemisphere of what information is.
Well, good news is that they are dying slowly, whether they want to admit it or not.
They will respawn in a different way. You're never going to get rid of them.
That'd be good. A little bit of accountability. Hey, listen, like shows like us or some of the other more independent shows, more authentic, more genuine conversations. You have an hour and a half show, there's going to be 90 seconds of gold somewhere along the lines. But when you take that interview and you chop it up into these 5-10 second little hit pieces.
Well, and that's the other threat too, is the people now, instead of somebody who comes across very well polished and answer every question properly, is that you're going to get these people that are able to drop the odd nugget of amazement and wisdom inside of an hour and a half long ago. Person was quick on their feet. So are we now looking for a different type of leader? Somebody who can sit there and long form explain to you why things are going to be the way they're going to be? Because it's a lot easier to have somebody volunteer their loyalty to whatever idea it is rather than saying, here's here's the way it's going to be. You have no choice in the matter.
Sure, but you can be as prepared as you want. At some point, the guard has to come down and the genuine authenticity will shine, which is why, for those that watched with the Big Bad Orange Man, when he did 3 hours of Rogan, what was it, back in November, you saw the real version of him right there. They're chopping it up towards the end. The other lady, I'm only going to do 45 minutes because you can't keep up the act for 3 hours. You have to get genuine at some point.
Well, not only that, and then have the answers edited by the broadcaster before it actually goes to air. So it's all smoke and mirrors.
This would have all been solved with a great pair of underwear from the team at Sheath. What do you think about that, Dave?
I'm telling you, if I and I've been doing a lot of sitting lately. I've been sitting, as you have, doing a lot of editing. You do a lot more of the video. I do a lot more of the audio. When you sit down for that long, you want to make sure that your boys are taken care of.
Which is why Sheath is the greatest underwear ever invented, ever created. It is underwear redefined. When you're a man, when it comes to being a man, there's only one choice, and it's Sheath. They have the dual pouch technology. It is a separated, segregated compartment. I say it every damn week. Your bacon and your beans should not be touching or sticking to the side of your leg. Sheath fixes that. Their bamboo mesh, the 2.0, the new and improved bamboo mesh, is more comfortable, more cooling than ever before. American-made, founded by a former member of the U.S. military. Robert, this guy is an absolute beauty. They are also the official underwear of the UFC. You see in the Octagon, Sheath Underwear, they're the real deal. And right now, if for some reason...
You're welcome, Dana White, by the way. You're welcome.
After 3 years of pitching Sheath to you and you are somehow not sold, we're going to make it even easier. We'll get you 20% off the best underwear money has ever bought with the code BIZKIT. 69 BIZKIT 69 for the greatest investment you'll ever make. We all need underwear. If your gitch don't stretch back and it's got holes, also present the shrimping mode bigger. I'm sure whatever lady, however many ladies, or plural or not plural that you have in your life, would love a nice big shrimping boat for you to come home to.
Say no more.
I'm sold. Pick up a pair today.
At the time of the recording, the Jets were 11 in a row. I'm going to assume that we're at 12 in a row, maybe even 13 in a row, because Philly was in town yesterday. So I'm going to hope that one was a bit of a cakewalk. At this point, I know a lot of people are talking about McJesus. I know a lot of people are talking about Neon Leon, and Stan Bowman saying that we're not looking for a goaltender, which, okay.
That's a lie.
Are the Winnipeg Jets not at the top of the power rankings for Stanley Cup contenders? And if they're not, should they not be?
Well, you don't want to peak too early. You peaked twice. 15-game heater and now a 12-game heater. I mean, 2 double-digit win streaks in one season. That's got to be an NHL record, at least close to. And here's another stat for you. Our boy, Mr. Miraculous, Connor Hellebuck, he himself has more wins than 28 of 31 NHL teams. The only teams that have more wins than Connor Hellebuck are, Toronto's tied at 36 apiece, the Dallas Stars at 37, the Caps, 38. He has more wins than every other team himself.
Okay, that's one thing that's going to worry me a little bit. Under the guise of that we talked about before, you can't ride the horse too long and ask him to keep riding. So,
what point do you stop playing him then?
Well, I think you're going to have to lean on an Eric Comrie. I think it might be a situation where you go 3-1, 3-1. 4-2, 3-1. Work it like a night shift at the plant in Fort McMurray when you're working for Syncrude or Suncor, where you're if you get Hellebuck to 60 games in the regular season plus the 4 that he played in the Four Nations face-off, we're looking at 64 games, and then you want him to win 16 in the playoffs.
So that's the case.
Jeepers Murphy.
So the stat is only 2 times since the salary cap has been in place as a team won the Cup with their starter playing 60 or more games. So it's got to be 59 or less, wins you the Cup every single time, except for 2 years. So if he plays 4 games at the Four Nations, which he did, so that magic number is now 56.
And you decided to take a detour for a few extra miles with 4 extra games. Again, not easy games, not all-star games.
Yeah.
We're talking full intensity games.
Couple extra miles, couple extra smiles.
That is the only red flag that goes up for me. So I hope Eric Comrie's ready to shoulder a lot of games here in the second half of the season, because at this point they've already punched without having the little X next to their name on the standings sheet. They pretty much punched their way into the playoffs.
Get him down to 300 man. Earl's a 300 man. Get to the watering hole. Drink up, fella.
Look, he's at .926 save percentage, .202 goals against average right now, which is unheard of. I mean, those are godlike numbers.
Especially in this era.
Give him a break. Even play Comrie for 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Why not?
He's more than competent. He's a great NHL goalie.
He's a fantastic goalie, and he's tenured. It's not like he's a rookie. It's his second go-around with the franchise. He knows what the MO is.
I think Combs might actually have the record for most times playing with one team, being released, traded, or wavered. leaving and then coming back, leaving, coming back. He's like that ex-girlfriend you just can't shake. He comes back like 4 different times. He was in Buffalo, Phoenix, Detroit, came back every single time.
Well, when I was a hockey card collector, I used to look at the back in the old days when they would put every single one of your IMDb profiles on there. And I would see and I would say, oh, this guy's been to the same team twice. And it took me a long time to figure out that maybe they weren't right for the franchise at that point, but maybe they were 5 years later. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's okay.
You want to hear the ultimate Jordan Binnington story on the topic of rookie cards? I heard a story the other day. So pre-2019, before they win the Cup, he hasn't played an NHL game at this point in time. He's going on a vacation with one of the guys with the Blues in the American League. They go down to the Roman Coliseum. They're sitting there, they're looking at the Coliseum, like, what a beautiful place. JB pulls out his rookie card in the American League, throws it down at the bottom, looks at his buddy and says, someone's going to get really rich one day when they find that.
Did he sign it?
Didn't play a single NHL game, not signed, just his rookie card. And then look now.
Look at him.
Stanley Cup winner, Mr. Under Pressure. More dialed in than Lana Rhodes under pressure. But man, what a...
Let's see if he can get his team in the playoffs.
He's got some jam, and I like it. On the topic of Winnipeg, too, 48% of NHL players surveyed said Winnipeg is on the no-trade list, which is 10% more than the Buffalo Sabres.
It's the climate, man.
It's tough, man. Minus
it's
40.
It's the climate.
Oh.
You know what'll change that?
What?
A championship.
Yep.
Look at Green Bay. Green on paper, Green Bay is the worst place in the entire NFL to play. But you know what it has? Legacy. You get some legacy in the Winnipeg Jets. You go on a run. Mm-hmm. You win a bunch of cups back to back. You start naming your rink after Paul Maurice or Scott Arniel or whoever it may be, the Bobby Hull Arena, whatever you want. You get some legacy in there. You get more statues out front like Dale Howard-Chuck saying, you play here, you get remembered forever. That's what changes that, because you can't change the weather. The city will get bigger slowly, but we're never going to be in New York. We're never going to be in LA. We're always going to be that smaller market in the NHL as, North America grows. Mm-hmm. So the only way you can do that is by winning. And this year has a really good chance to set that benchmark.
You mentioned it earlier. What did you make of that comment Stan Bowman made when they asked him, are you in the market for a goalie? And he said flat out, no.
Dumb. and look, not dumb that he said that he's not looking for a goalie. Stan Bowman is seasoned enough and comes from amazing pedigree with his father, Scotty Bowman. The answer should have been, when asking if you're looking for a goaltender, would have been either maybe in the draft, maybe, if the right offer comes along.
Yep. As
of right now, we think we have a great team, but we could always get better, and that's at any position. So that way you don't shut down. I mean, if that's the boost you're looking to give Skinner, like, hey, don't worry, Skinsy, we're not trading you. Just to spoil a little bit about what Brent Sopel said in an interview we did with him recently that's coming out in the summer series that we're doing. Yep. He said that was some of the best GMs that he had. At the trade deadline, they'd call up and say, hey, I don't care what you hear in the media. Unless an amazing offer comes across my desk, don't worry about it. You're not going anywhere. That's the kind of confidence you need. Not in front of the media, one-on-one.
Well, he is the weakest link, Stuart Skinner, and he's an NHL goalie. I'm not. I recognize that. But sticking to the same goalie situation is like shitting your pants and changing your socks. The problem is still there and nothing has changed.
Right.
And instead of focusing on getting all these D, let's get some more D. Why don't you get the thing that the D is trying to fix, was the goaltending? I mean, you could get Freddie, I blew my back out because I sneezed Anderson. You can get John, my favorite type of weed is cocaine, Gibson. Or
Demko.
My boy Demko. I would love nothing more. His value is at an all-time low because he's been injured 3 times. The knee injury, he fell on his tailbone, and then something happened the other day.
Big risk.
It's a big risk, but are you going to put money in Bitcoin right now on the dip?
Here's what I will say. When it comes to trending, and I'll play devil's advocate to myself on this one, Bobrovsky, when he lost in the finals to Vegas, they thought, was he the issue? We're going to stick with him for one more year. And maybe that's what they're doing with Skinner. We got within one game, and he got us there.
But he blew the first 3 games in this series.
I know.
If you had the goaltending, we're talking about a different Stanley Cup champion.
I know.
I mean, even like Pickard came in, did an okay job.
I know.
But he's a backup.
I know.
Skinner again is a backup. Here's a thought for you. Here's a wild idea. What if you trade Skinner for Demko, give them a first-round pick. You don't even need it. Bring in Demko, keep him on the IR to the end of the season. So he's not in the salary cap. So you just freed up that Skinner salary cap. What's he making? $3-4 million. Use that. Bring in a D-man. Tell Pickard, listen, buddy, hold down the fort for game 82. Boom, Demko steps in. You just need 16 good games, 20 with a couple losses, 3 good months of hockey. You got salary cap space. You got a winning goaltender that's going to get the job done, and you can maybe get a little defenseman with that $4 million and change.
Well, look, I'm going to use Binnington only because you brought him up earlier on the show, but nobody knew that he was going to lead them to the Stanley Cup.
Do you think the Oilers trade for him?
Maybe.
If they're out of the playoffs, they could trade for JB.
Maybe.
A little bit of jam there. That sounds pretty good.
You want to make that call? You want to put it down? You want to say it happens? You want to say we broke it here? You want to say we called it? Go ahead. Do it. Do it.
Watch. The Oilers will trade for Jordan Binnington at the deadline and go on a run of all runs. No need for John. My favorite type of weed is cocaine Gibson. JB is the trade to make. I'm endorsing that right here. Signed it. Sealed and delivered.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. You like that? Like that deal?
Look, I've heard crazier. I've absolutely heard crazier.
Well, to play devil's advocate to myself, if I had to pick one goalie that has my dream setup, dream job, I'd pick Demko. Because big guy, I think he's pretty good looking, great style, moves great, incredible flexibility, incredible mobility. He's just an all-around world-class goaltender. He's also playing in a city of Vancouver where you have a 3-to-1 chick-to-male ratio. You got some of the most beautiful women in the world, great weather, minimal snow on the Pacific Coast. A little high taxes, and maybe the government's a little too socialist for me, but man, what a spot to be. He's him and Hellebuck are my two favorites.
Yeah, a lot of injury though.
I would.
A lot of
I don't know
injury.
about you. I would stroke a good check to put Demko in this chair and have him on the show, or Hellebuck. I know Hellebuck will never come on, but Demko, I'd
Never say never.
stroke a good check for him on.
You know what would be smart is to maybe bring in Demko as a backup at this point.
Got to keep him on the IR if you want to stay under the salary cap. Though.
Yeah.
That was the whole thought process behind that. But I don't know. We got a voicemail. Feel free to exercise it. One last thing before we get to the voicemail. I want to give a shout out for those that have forgotten. It was 3 years ago this week that the biggest Canadian heroes in Canadian history since World War II went to the streets, marched down to Ottawa, and said, enough is enough of this scamdemic. You have gone on long enough. They are the biggest heroes in Canadian history, again, since WW2. You people that went out there, you drove down to Ottawa, you are the real heroes. Thank you for doing what you did. I was in Sweden playing professional hockey at the time.
Oh, I know exactly where I was.
If I wasn't, I would have been going down there with them. I kept my eyes on it, and would you not agree? Absolute heroes all of you people were.
100%. I remember exactly where I was. I remember getting a phone call from a friend of mine saying, hey, the convoy's coming through. I'm jumping on board. I'm going with it. Are you coming with me? And I said, I'm in Mexico right now because I moved my family down because I didn't like what the mandates were in this country. So I'm currently out of country, and I remember jumping on my couch in Mexico going, go get him. Go. Let's go. I was so excited. There was part of me that was so disappointed that I wasn't there to join that convoy.
Me too.
But I was happy to follow along.
For those of you that sat at home saying that the truckers are evil, they're terrible people, for you cowards, I have one thing to say to you. Have a good day.
On to the voicemail.
As always, call the voicemail anytime. There's a link in the description. Thank you.
Hey Trav, I'm Braden. Braden.
And I'm Jonathan.
We get baked every week. We get baked. We hit the dabbers. We hit the dabbers and we watch the pod with you and with
Dave.
The other guy.
We miss Rob. We miss Rob. We love Rob.
I miss Rob.
Yeah,
I'll be back soon.
Rob. We love Rob. Dave, you gotta be tougher on him.
Those guys are 100% calling from Sudbury. Little Sud Vegas action right there. Thanks to the voicemail, guys. That honestly, this is one of my favorite parts of the week is the voicemail and interacting with everybody that watches the show.
I agree.
Hey Trav, big fan.
Hey.
Just wanted to check in with you about something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Canadian and I agree with some of your takes in politics. I agree with some of the stuff that's been going around in terms of the NHL and the political climate back and forth. Maybe not so much with the ban of like different jerseys because, inclusivity nights are completely different than the Trump Trudeau stuff that's happening with foreign nations, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I am genuinely curious. I heard your last week's podcast, and one thing that did strike out to me was you called it woke Russian politics in terms of why Russia wasn't included in foreign nations. just genuinely curious because I want to hear you expand on that. What exactly is woke about it? Because from what I, know about woke, it seems like it's more, let's just make everyone feel included and hand out participation trophies and participation medals and kiss babies and hug everyone. But really, truly though, like the annexation of Ukraine by Russia, what exactly is woke about that? Anyway, I'd love to get your thoughts. Big fan. Hope you guys check in on this. Thanks.
First off, can we acknowledge the fact that even though he disagrees with some of the things that I said, he was very polite, he was very respectful about it, called in.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was a genuine question.
Totally.
So to answer the first part of or I guess I'll start at the back half and I'll back up there. The first part about the whole Russia taking over the Ukraine, it's not about that. It's not about that at all. It's the fact that these players, just because they're from Russia, it doesn't mean they're bad people. They're good enough to play in the NHL where you can make money off and have revenue, but to have a Team Russia, they're not good enough for that. And the fact that we're banning Russian players because of that when they're not the ones calling the shots, that's woke. That's very woke. It's woke politics right there. As far as what is woke, in my opinion, anything that is woke is going against what is good for society. It is being tolerant of things, and for example, in the name of inclusivity. We already are inclusive. If you have money and you can afford a ticket, you're welcome to come to a game. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, your sexuality, any of that type of stuff. If you love hockey and you got the money to pay for the ticket, you can come to the game. Anything else in the name of inclusivity is just for jersey sales and it's woke. And personally, I don't like it. I think it's very tacky. Is that a fair answer to say?
On to the next one.
Well, I was asked nicely to do this, so I'm doing it.
It's honest.
Instagram obviously knows I'm a goalie, so the algorithm pushed you two guys to me pretty aggressively. And my biggest takeaway is the dedication to the suit and hat combination by the guy.
I love it.
In the booth.
Look at that vest.
Is admirable. Not sure what inspired that. Would love to know. Is that an everyday thing or is that exclusively for the podcast?
Giving the missus something to hang on to.
This is an everyday thing, and this is an everyday thing as of about 2 years ago. My wife challenged me. She's like, listen, you ain't no spring chicken no mo. You're in your mid-40s now. It's time to start dressing a little more appropriately. And you can check my receipts. If you go check out my my daily podcast, which is available on YouTube as well, at WheelerJ28, I'm dressing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
love the pinstripe, by the way. Fantastic combo.
Not a pinstripe. Pinstripe is more like straight down. Like that's more of like
checkers.
your classic monster. More of the light plaid. We'll call it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It's good looking. A little grungy. I like it.
And
I like that.
And just as a tip, this is not an expensive getup. You can go to your local thrift store and you can literally dig and find something that fits you well and looks good on you. Believe me when I tell you, it feels good too.
Listen, to anybody that thinks that Dave dressed tacky, you hate his suits and his shirts, you're a bunch of cowards. I want you to know that.
It's the word of the day.
And I meant it. We'll see if there's some incongruencies between what I'm saying and doing.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Which one?
Not us, because we're wearing MANDO.
America's favorite full-body deodorant.
Boys, it's Nick Lange. Quick
Nicky.
little call. I'm going to make it nice and easy. Quick little shout out to Dave. Dave, heard you had 3 balls, 1 eye. A car takes 4 wheels to roll.
Keep
You're
on
wheeling
rolling,
a beauty
baby.
of a missus, so you're doing just fine. And
Sure
Trav,
am.
I owe you a sincere apology because I jumped on the fucking bandwagon 2 years ago when I first found out who you were. And in the comments, I was leaving out the little goofy comments, but I come to realize that you're actually, no, you're a good show to watch. You guys are great to hear and love hearing you in the morning. Trav, it's just good to see goalies putting out content. I make my own, Nick Lange on TikTok. Saw you were out in Montreal. That was pretty cool.
Beautiful city.
Wish you guys could come visit Montreal a little more. You're both Canadian boys who love the country.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear more about what you think about our province. Keep doing what you're doing. And if ever you want to do a little Joe versus Pro out here in Montreal, out here in the South Shore, hope I'm your guy. Give you a little more of a challenge there. I'm a real Joe, but I think I could give you a run for your money on that skill, big buddy. But besides that, keep going. And a quick shout out to my dad, hardest worker I know, head equipment manager of the Montreal Canadiens, Patrick Langlois. Love you, Dad. You're the best. You
That's
guys keep
awesome.
doing what you're doing. All right.
Where do you even begin? So much to unpack there.
One of the biggest unsung heroes in any hockey team is the equipment managers.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys,
Is he the current equipment manager for the Canadiens? Like the head equipment manager?
Made it sound like it.
Nick, please call back to clarify. But your city, Montreal, I was just there. I know Dave wasn't. It would have been so awesome if we went down to the tournament ourselves, but what a beautiful city. The people are classy. They're well-dressed. The food is great. The weather's fantastic. You're on an island. I didn't even know that. The architecture is beautiful. It's like you're in little Europe. The city is fantastic. I don't have enough positive things to say. I would entertain moving to Montreal. I'd put Montreal.
Please do.
Vancouver and maybe some spots like Revelstoke or Valemount.
As much as Toronto is like the
dump of Canada.
No. I mean, let's be honest. When people think Canada, for the most part, they think Toronto, right? I mean, especially with the Raptors and the Blue Jays and the sports culture in North America. Toronto is kind of we nickname it the center of the universe because people that live in Toronto just think, well, it's Toronto. Is there anything outside of Toronto? No, it's Toronto. Montreal, to me, is a better representation of what Canada is. Montreal 1, Vancouver 2. Mm-hmm. Every day of the week. I love that city.
Yeah, alternate. Also, can we also appreciate the fact that he didn't let the show, came around, and was very respectful about it.
Love it.
Nick, send me an email, man. Let's get you out some merch. What do you say? We should get him some merch. I think so.
Hey guys, this is Dale here, driving from Chilliwack to Fort McMurray today.
Hey!
Appreciate the podcast. Listen to it quite a bit at work. I know you guys are holding it down since they turfed Don Cherry.
Oh.
I definitely like listening to you guys.
Thank you.
Since we don't get any real talk on TSN or any of the mainstream media, you guys are keeping it real. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Is that Double D calling from Fort Mac?
Dale.
Dale Denichuk?
That's Dale. This is Dale.
Well, Dale, thank you for the call, my friend. Doing the people's work out in Fort Mac.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty high praise to say that we're replacing Cherry, but he's an icon of himself. Let's not disrespect the GOAT.
Yeah, careful on that highway going from Edmonton north to Fort Mac.
Is that 5 or 7? It's Coquihalla up to 16, the Yellowhead, right?
So once you hit Edmonton, depending on which way you go, if you're coming through Jasper and you head to Edmonton, then you can kind of skip around in like the Henday, or you can even go north of that, depending if you're going through Athabasca or if you a bunch of different ways to go. Just be careful.
Just calling back. No, I don't have a podcast.
And
you definitely would not consider you guys even remotely close to a good podcast.
That's okay. But we got one.
You have a very sub-average goalie in Trav, and another guy who just wears, I think his claim to fame is just the hats that he wears and how he wears them. Pretty dumb style if you ask me, but that's to each his own. I guess that's what they do up in Canada. Who knows?
Yep.
I mean, like I said, we can make this a weekly thing.
Sure.
And I would love to continue to talk to you guys instead of just leaving voicemails. And I hope you guys have a great day, but your podcast is just terrible.
Well,
May I?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
How many games of professional hockey have you played in your lifetime? And how much money, I'm looking for a dollar figure here, did you make playing those games? Looking for how many seasons and games played, looking for a dollar figure.
And hey, thanks for hitching your wagon to a very average podcast.
Hi, Lucas again. Khachapuri and Pucks. I was just wondering if you guys ever had any run-ins with Dennis Hull.
Who?
Classic hockey personality.
Dennis Hull?
Wrote a book I read when I was much younger.
Dennis Hull.
Yeah.
If you do have any stories, I figured they'd be great. Just curious.
I'll tell you a brief story. I remember once upon a time we were in the owner's suite at Bridgestone Arena against the Nashville Predators, and we were doing a trip. It was like a Bobby Hull Foundation fundraiser. Flew a whole bunch of people down private. My wife and I happened to be on the flight, and we walked into the room, and Bobby, as soon as my wife walked into the suite, his eyes were like, oh. And he went over, he was like, hi, nice to meet you, doll. Hey, good to meet you. Oh, boy, like, what was you? And I looked over because I'd known Bobby this morning. I said, hey, Bobby, easy, that's my wife. And he looks at me, he goes, I'm harmless. Anyways, how are you?
That's
never lost it. Boy, still got Riz.
Oof. Yeah, look at Bill Belichick, right?
Oh, boy.
The Sean Avery post, and the NHL should bring guys like that back. I 100% think they should, because that's what gives the team around them that drive to push more. Also, guys like Brad Marchand, he'll throw a shot in there or two, but he doesn't have that same drive like he did at the beginning of his career. And on the Four Nations now, the 3 fights in the first minute, that's what really set the stage for that USA-Canada game, because that brought drive to the other players and motivation. guys like that bring motivation to the team, and they're not there just because, oh, they can fight, oh, they can do this, oh, they can do that, but they bring motivation, and they're more of a locker room guy than anything.
There was a lot in there.
There's a lot in there. Can I address the fights
Go for
aspect?
it. Yep.
To all you soy-loving liberals out there, you sweethearts that think fighting should be out of the game, the Canada-USA rivalry was great because there were 3 fights in 9 seconds. And here's a little stat for you, for all you sweethearts at home. The Rangers, with Matt Rempe in the lineup. Oh, he doesn't know how to play hockey. They're 21-4-4 with this man in the lineup. When he starts the lawnmower, the boys go.
You, and this is truth, and this has been well documented in a lot of enforcer documentaries and books and whatnot that have been written over the past few decades. But high-skilled players have always said they feel more comfortable being able to go out and play their style of hockey when they got a bruiser on the bench every single time, because they know they can go out and maybe play a little more flagrantly or a little more liberally, knowing that they're going to be able to get away with it, because if you hit them the wrong way or you take a cheap shot, you got to answer the bell.
You have a favorite hockey player right now in this day and age?
Right now?
One single player right now. Go.
Most of my favorite guys have retired. And just recently, too. No, I can't pick you a favorite. I can't pick you one guy. I got a handful of guys that I like. Who do you like?
Diamond Hands. There's nobody that gets me more excited than Daniel Diamond Hands Amesbury.
Here was I thinking just NHL.
No, Diamond Hands is single-handedly bringing hockey back. When he posts his fights on Instagram, I'm fired up and I'm glued to my phone. Like, oh, I left. And for the next minute and a half, I'm glued there. Diamond Hands, we love you on this show. We salute you. Also, we had a great interview with him. That's still on the algorithm. That video is still doing views every single week. So go check it out if you haven't. But that's the end of the voicemails.
That's it.
We do new episodes every single Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 in the Prairies, 9 in Saskatoon and Calgary, depending on the daylight savings time of the year, 8 in the Pacific Northwest. Episodes are up on YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, X. We'll see you next week.